Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening to this or joining this radio audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the growing. It's a growth industry, and it's I think causing massive social disruption and economic disruption to the Western economies. And that is the growth industry need to deliver the cheapest of cheap labour to the point of need or the point of use or to the work site. And that could be labourers to do dig the hole in the road, or it could be labourers to wash dishes or sweep the floor or whatever. But nonetheless, delivering cheap labour to the work site or the point of need. Now, the way it works is this, and it is working this way. As the cost of living in the West sort of continues to... Now, bear in mind that as people's incomes are declining and their purchasing power is declining, that the costs are increasing. Now, if there's not something that gives away, this is no longer a market-driven economy, then I don't know what is, because if people's purchasing power increases, they got more money to spend, they buy more stuff, and you would expect that prices would likely, in balanced probability, increase, given that demand is increasing. But we're looking at a situation here where costs are increasing at a much faster rate in all the essentials, whether it be rent, whether it be energy, petroleum for your motor vehicle. It doesn't matter. I mean, food. You look any direction you go in, cost of living is increasing, and as a result, the spending power of people is declining. But in spite of declining spending power, prices keep on going up, which cannot happen in a market-driven economy, by the way. Unless there's a scarcity of resources in other areas, like there's a big buyer in the market that's buying up everything, and there's so little left over that the price goes up there. So, but no, we're looking at a planned, centrally controlled economy, which is pushing up prices in areas where a small elite are becoming very rich as a consequence. But coming back to the cheap labour thing, I've mentioned this sort of many times. In the entry-level labouring jobs, the pay is so low that the only way people who are working at those jobs can get by is by communal living. And communal living, I'm not talking 3 or 4 people to the one-bedroom apartment. I'm talking 15 people to the one-bedroom apartment, 40 people to the 4-bedroom house, this sort of thing. So we're talking about third world peasant conditions of living, in terms of the density of the population within a dwelling. And now this is supposed to be illegal in Australia, but governments, local councils, and they're all looking the other way and refusing to enforce the law, or very selectively. They'll do some raids here and there, just for the visuals, but or if all the people are illegals, maybe, or visa overstays, they might do something there. But otherwise, they don't do anything. And this is allowed to happen, and it's increasing. So now we're seeing it again in, all across. It could be industrial work sites, labouring, or there's one that I came across recently where it's quite a big property development thing, and they need cheap labour there, or some of the owners of the property developer, they're doing very nicely out of it, but the profit they're making is typically coming out because the prices aren't low. They're not offering cheaper or competitive prices for the property, so they're making, this is simply a profiteering thing. So it's immensely profitable for them. But so they've got this. They're workers from a third world country. They're working in tandem in a labour hire scam, where they've got these people, these illiterate peasants from a third world country who are used as entry level coolie labour, again digging the holes type thing, and they need 100 of those in any given day, give or take, and they don't want to employ people having to pay local Australian industrial law benefits and so and they want to bypass all the labour law obligations that exist in a place like Australia. So they've got these houses, they've got this labour home, I think these houses where, again, a 4-bedroom house, there's like 40 people in it. There are bunk beds and mattresses just stuck everywhere in this house. The dining area sleeps 6, and the lounge room sleeps another 12, and each bedroom 6, and so on. So the garage is used as another bedroom. So they've got this. Even the backyard shed is used as a fucking bedroom. So they've got all these people, these third world illiterate peasants living there. I mean, how these peasants get in is beyond me. How do they get to Australia in the first place? But anyway, they're there. They're illiterate in their own language, and they have no skills. They're just pure coolie labour. That's all they are. And they've got an interpreter, so they come ready-made to the worksite. So your 50 or your 100 third world peasants turn up. A couple of interpreters are sort of act as, if you like, deputy foreman, and then they're there to work for entry level wages. Now the guy who's running them is telling me he's over the moon about it. He said, I can call these guys in a couple of hours. They arrive. They've got their own little minibus. They just turn up, 20 of them, and a couple of minibuses turn up. It's the interpreters are with them, and I just need them for 2 or 3 hours to do something, and then I send them all off, and that's it, done. Done and dust. I just pay this sham labour hire fucking front company the money, and it's done. It's finished, and he's comparing what he would have to pay a local white person in terms of, they've got to give them a roster of some sort, and the benefits and the pay and the this and the that. And he said, I don't have to pay these guys any of that. I just give them the cheapest rate that exists, and that's it. They're gone. And the money goes to the labour hire firm, which is controlled by, goons back in the third world country anyway. The workers aren't going to get that money. But to them, it's still economic because they pay the workers next to nothing. Every property they own is a real estate investment, which is a tax write-off anyway, and so on and so forth. So by gaming the system to the extent they are, and the Australian Western governments generally are just allowing this to happen, they're not making any effort to stop it. But I think they're encouraging it, certainly by the look of it. They make some noises sometime about they're going to crack down it, but they never do. So this is the big thing. And if you've got, it doesn't matter, you've got a cafe or a restaurant or anything where cheap labour can do the job. Now you maybe get a better job done by better labour or something, but better qualified labour, more experience. It doesn't matter. You can get it done cheaply this way. And people I've known that have owned restaurants or cafes. The guy who owned a few cafes, and he reckons he cut his labour bill, his labour cost. He cut it in half, or more than half, just by employing peasants. And there are also scams that they put the peasants on. Like say, well, look, I'll have to get you to work for a couple of weeks for free while I decide whether or not you're good enough to keep on. Now, when you're a third world peasant, they've got no idea of how things work. Oh yeah, okay, fine. I'm a hard worker. Well, you show me you're a hard worker then. And they can keep the guy on for a couple of weeks, and then even then they can string it out at the end of the couple of weeks. Well, I'm not quite sure about you. I think we need to go another couple of weeks here before I'll be happy. Oh, okay, says the third world peasant through the interpreter. And so they can get this guy to work for free for a month. Now, when you add this up over many hundreds across different sites, and so you can be saving several $100s a week per person in wages, depending how many hours you might get them to work. Even at entry level, if you can get them to work 60 hours a week, you've still saved over $700 if they work for free. They're on probation or something like that. And this is also widespread. So a lot of these coolies, these third world coolie labourers that file out of these little minibuses and are stuck 40 to a house, and that many of those won't be working at all. And if they say, hey, you should be paying me and where's my money, then they'll find themselves, sent back to the third world country or just dumped in the middle of nowhere, this sort of thing. They're not going to achieve anything by this. So they've got no bargaining or negotiating power at all. So this is the big growth industry. How can I get illiterate peasants delivered to whatever, whether it's building or property development or restaurants or floor sweeping? For example, here's a cleaning contractor, and they get cleaning contracts meant to be very competitive industry, which I'm sure it is, by the way. And they can get a big shopping centre or something like that. They can get the 100 cleaners that are needed to do that. And again, they're all going to be third world peasants. Many of those aren't going to be paid. They're on this imaginary probation and so on. So this labour hire sham thing. This is the growth industry, and the impetus and the encouragement and the conditions that are creating this demand are the higher cost of living and the rapidly declining bottom end of the wage scale relative to cost of living, which means the demand for peasant coolie labour that can be exploited like this, the demand for it's just increasing out of sight. So those that can deliver the illiterate peasants with their interpreter, and there's plenty there, in the third world groups trying to fill that void. And that's hungrily being snapped up by local businesses and so on. I saw a recent one in the United States just a day or two ago, where there's I think it's a food or a meat processing company where they fired all the local American workers and they're hiring illegal aliens to work in the factories or the processing plants for much lower wages and lesser conditions, and they're touting this as some. They're really, we're high-powered entrepreneurs. Look at what we're doing. But in fact, all they're doing is gaming the system and screwing over the locals, which is what's happening here. And again, it's a growth industry, and everywhere I go now, I'm seeing more and more of it. And straight white male managers patting themselves on the back for being kick-ass businessmen for thinking of it or participating in it. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.